I spent the latter part of last week and going into the weekend comparing recent from Tim Scott, from Lummis, from French Hill, Hester Pierce, and Jake Chiminski, I think that's how I say his surname, about clarity and genius, and their outreach lines up with the questions the community put forward. Those are the questions we've been sending to potential guests and experts, and we'll update everyone once there's something clear, and I shouldn't think that will be too far away either. I hope everyone heard all of that and I wasn't just talking into an empty phone, but I think I've set this up properly.
Yeah, Osprey, I certainly caught that, mate. I hope you're well, bro.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm all right.
That was really I totally understand why just to piggyback off what you said about the clarity and stuff, and yeah, I think we made the right call. I mean, at the end of the day, we can't control what other people are, whether people turn up or they're reliable or not reliable, so we're doing the best we can. And yeah, I think it's a very exciting time. I think Stephen's live recording now, which is cool. So that's kind of streaming and all that, I believe. Stephen, you mentioned potentially posting on X as well. Is that live streaming? Is that all good? Or anyway, good to be back. Good to be on the VC together.
Yeah, it's awesome, and thanks, Steve, for streaming that. That's really cool.
Hey, boys.
He's been brilliant behind the scenes with helping on this preparation with Clarity at VCs. It's just been tremendous. And I mean that day and night. I know we're on opposite sides of the world, but he's awake and at it, helping. It's been really cool. So, Stephen, thanks a lot.
Yeah, hey fellas. Yeah, appreciate that. It's not on X at the minute. It's on YouTube only, and the sound settings I was doing some tests earlier, and unfortunately I think I didn't get it correct. I thought I did, but I'm doing the best that I can with whatever I can. So this particular VC on YouTube, if anyone's listening from YouTube, I do apologize. The sound quality might not be all that great, but I'll certainly improve it for future ones. But yeah, it's good to hear you guys, because I missed last week, and I have to say, like, I love, we've spoken about this. We're on, we're in the universe on this rock that's just hurtling through space, and I'm on one side of it and you guys are on the other. And I just, it makes my morning when I go for a walk and the sun is shining and I'm hearing the boys from across the other side of the world. It's a wonderful thing. So it just gives me a lot of energy and I just love it. So yeah, I love doing all of this.
This is all being recorded, Steve, too. So if you need the file after, I will. I'll send it straight to you if you need it to do anything with it. So
yes, wonderful. Thank you.
I sent some outreach off to Amanda Tominelli from the DeFi Education Fund. I've not heard back, but I'd like to think she'll come back to us. I just feel like she's a great candidate for the VC, and it would give her also an opportunity to talk about the DeFi Education Fund a little more. They've been involved in some really cool stuff on the legal end of things, and she has some great legal experience. I think that would be a good trade-off, a good exchange. That's kind of how I framed it. I feel like it's a fair move. So let you know how that goes, if there's any response.
What is that exactly? Just out of curiosity, I know the who you're referring to, but what's the DeFi thing? So basically, what you're suggesting is for them to give us some kind of legal opinion, they would we would exchange that for whatever products that their education. What is the education about though? Do you know? Did you look into that at all, or?
Yeah, they are a non-partisan organization, all built around DeFi policy, mainstream understanding of decentralized finance is their shtick, and to protect the rights of the developers, the users, and projects to freely create technology and infrastructure. I think they even have the blurb about it on their site, but they've done some excellent YouTube interviews, and they're ex-lawyers. I think one of them was involved in the Tornado Cash case, and I watched an episode with Amanda on YouTube as part. It was another YouTube channel, and she just spoke really, really well, and comes from a point of defense of the very things we speak about regularly. I find that quite, I don't know, I thought, yeah, this sounds more like our people, that way. And I thought I'd just reach out. And there's a lot of them, like they are legal officers, they're partners in law firms. They've all come together in their own time for this sort of non-profit, non-partisan organization. And I think they could maybe speak to us a little about what they do. I think it would be fair, because they're not selling anything. They're promoting good DeFi and rights. And I thought that was very strong. So possibly a good outreach.
Yeah, beautiful find. Seems like a good value exchange.
You know what? Let me post. I'll just pop it in chat, Steve. It's much better, isn't it? I'm not thinking. I'm tired after the weekend. DeFi Education Fund. There we go. There's plenty of people to choose from in that lineup. They're all very vested and very experienced in their own right. And I like their different backgrounds, but the fact that they've all come together in one place with one message. See what you think. I'm sure others will give some good feedback as well. And please do.
Yeah, nice one, Osprey. I was just going to say as well, just on the Clarity Act, this is just something that I think is probably worth sharing at the point, because a lot of people are kind of lost in the noise. Obviously, I don't want to short circuit what's going to happen next week or whenever we get someone to come along who's obviously going to know much more on the legal side. But I can tell you, in terms of where we are at the moment, obviously people are worried. They're thinking, "Oh, we're running out of time, etc." Which is it's a fair fear, as it were, because we can all be fearful at times. But the reality is, right now we have 2 weeks of recess, right? So we've got two good weeks. People often think that then they're doing nothing over the recess. Obviously, they're spending time with their friends, their families, all that kind of stuff, having time off. That is true, but that doesn't mean that negotiations aren't ongoing. And Eleanor, the journalist, she talks a lot. She's talked recently about how things are ongoing over the next 2 weeks. So we've got 2 weeks recess, and then on July 14th, I believe it is, they kind of they come back, and then we've got 20 working days until August recess. But and we've got 7 Democrats that need to come across. So that's really what we're looking at. We're looking at 2 weeks negotiations, 20 working days to resolve the ongoing issues, and then that will obviously be, you know, that will obviously be the next step, which is the 7 Democrats. The issue really is the Democrats, like, if they can all come across, then they can move it through the Senate, and then the House will sign. There's a lot of FUD as well around the House. People, a lot of people are saying, "Oh, the House is happening, and we've got to get this, we've got to wait for that." Blah blah blah. The House has already agreed, right? The House is actually putting pressure on the Senate to get it done. So we don't have any issues there. It's not like another thing that we have to worry about. It's kind of a case of actually, if anything, they're trying to speed up the process and put pressure on the Senate, because nobody really wants this bill to fail. There's a minority of people across Democrats and Republicans that, want this to not necessarily want this to fail, but they don't want they want what they want to happen, and they're using it as kind of bargaining chips, so to speak. So yeah, anyway, just to conclude, 2 weeks of recess, then they come back, 20 working days to resolve the issue, and it's 7 Democrats. Once we get that, but it's still kind of very much happening. And if we get any bullish news, like if Eleanor reports on anything over the next 2 weeks, like, oh, this Democrat has communicated that he's interested in coming across the aisle, or they've dropped the issue on this ethics committee, or they've dropped their issue on this, then that's going to start swinging in the right direction, because nobody really wants to be the reason that the bill fails, right? Nobody wants to be the reason that the Clarity Act doesn't, fails. And also, here's an important note as well. Even if we don't get it by August, we do have the option of it later in the year. And if we don't get it by the end of the year, then it's just sod's law. Like, it's not our time. It's not the end of the world. And it doesn't mean it's not going to pass next year, right? It doesn't mean that it's not going to be quickly resolved, because it just means that we have more time to DCA, we have more time to build our bags, and we just got to suck it up and see. Do you know what I mean? That's where we are in the market. So just a couple of thoughts on that.
We go long haul, so many of us are. These are all interesting times. Huge power struggles, and the banks are so powerful, man. They are so powerful. You see it with your thesis, the way you research, and you see the data. They are almighty. The banks are just almighty, and it feels like the Lord of the Rings, and that big dragon monster is going down into the bowels of the earth, and you think it's all finished, and that one last big long tentacle comes up to try and pull him down with him. That's how I feel about all of it. There's a changing of the guard, through technology and communication. I mean, you can. This is something I do in my own time. Like, we live in a rural part of the world, man, and occasionally I have to go into my local bank to pay a bill, and I have to use a machine which looks like it was built by a college student, like MDF, with some plastic wrap on it to make it look legit, and you have to put in a plastic card, and you have to press numbers on a pad, and it spits out a paper receipt, and you do all of this stuff, and then you try to speak to people in the bank about your plans. I have to move this amount of money. Have you heard about DeFi or exchanges or crypto? and they have no idea. This has been my experience over the past few weeks. You just see it in the smallest capacity. Just your local bank in a part of the world there's hardly anyone in it, and they don't understand. They don't understand anything about it. Like I had a meeting with it wasn't the manager of the bank, but it was someone beneath him. And there's like 6 staff members in there. That's it. The guy just had no idea what exchanges are. He had never heard of Clarity Act. And it just blew my mind. And I thought, well, like, what world are we living in? And what world must they be living in? It only magnified it. And I got a sense, like, if you extrapolate that out, and just imagine the power that these people have. They've gotten so used to being on rails. Their working lives, their policies, all of it. I feel like they have enormous power to wield, and yet they don't fully understand or grasp the technology and communication that's in place on this side. And it's been here for so long. They're going to want to hold on to this power as best they can. That's my overwhelming take. They're oblivious to so much of what we read about daily and understand and interact with daily. Bit of a yarn there, but that's been my experience the past couple of 3 weeks.
It's very similar in Australia. So I spent a decent amount of time trying to find an alternative bank. I'm with one of the major banks, and I went through the shopping center one day and I went to every single bank that was there, and they're all exactly the same, and they're all basically just like blank stares, or like, you're a noob, or like they just have no idea. But I have it on good intelligence that, particularly in Australia with the big banks, they try to block everything. What they're trying to do is they're trying to slow the liquidity flows out of their system into an alternative system. Why? Because everything's fractionally reserved. So they don't even have enough money in the system as it is. So they're trying to slow everything down. But they're caught with their pants down, because this technology is coming one way or another, and they're not prepared for it. So on the outside, they're expressing like, this is bad, there's scams, and we're trying to protect you, and you shouldn't touch cryptocurrency. But behind closed doors, they're doing everything that they can to try and understand it and onboard it. So there's people who, you'll see these guys who are in banks and at these crypto events now, whereas 5-10 years ago, you won't see those kinds of people at these kinds of events. Whereas now they're starting to be there, and vice versa. You're seeing crypto guys and DeFi guys in banking, like events and conferences. So I'm very optimistic about at least the pathways are opening up. I don't like the manner in which it's opening up, because it's done in exactly the same way that everything is done. They lie to your face. The middleman lies straight to your face. The corporations lie straight to your face. Oh, we're doing this for your protection. But everybody with even half a brain realizes that that's absolutely not the case. So I resent the manner in which it's done, the dishonesty in which it's done. I despise it. I find it disgusting, actually. However, I'm optimistic at the changes that I'm seeing, the openness that I'm seeing, because it's inevitable. But obviously, we realize that there's, at least for now, there's always going to have to be some kind of fiat to DeFi on and off ramp. So it's like an inevitable infrastructure for now. But obviously, the ultimate objective that we have here is something very, very different and very, very unique. And so we really do want to avoid any control that they would try to have on the system, because ultimately that's what it would come down to. So that, yes, they're going to these crypto conferences and they're starting to learn about it and they're starting to understand it, but obviously the ends in which they're doing that is for their own control and their own profit margins. So their motives are completely contrary to true DeFi, but at least it's opening up, at least. So I'm optimistic about that. And I don't know what it's, I would suspect it's much the same everywhere around the world, but that's what I'm hearing about the state of Australia and the banking in Australia.
Very similar here, Steve. No doubt about it. These are the same banks on this side that took mortgage holders off their tracker mortgage packages without consent. They've been doing it secretly for best part of 3 years, I believe. And it sent families into massive arrears. And you had people taking their own lives on the strength of massive debt and destroying families. And they were answerable to the Irish government, and they were fined massively for it. But there's no real consequence to it. And yet these banks sort of put up all these signs of welcoming and understanding and family first, and we're here to listen and so on. It's just, like you say, it's all bullshit. People have short memories, very short. Where money's concerned and the access to money, all bets are off. This seems to be the what keeps the banks with a controlling edge.
Yeah. I mean, it's the powers that be, isn't it? I mean, it's always been the same with, the sheriff in town back in the day, and the cowboys and Indians and all that kind of stuff running around doing their thing.
Yeah.
It was kind of like, the sheriff was the centralized authority, and, a lot of the time they were corrupt, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and now it's just becoming like they're defeating themselves, because people are starting to see the cracks in the system, in the cost of living, the dollar devaluation, the housing affordability crisis in Australia, for example. People are starting to see, hang on a minute, these guys tell me one thing, but their actions are completely contrary to what they're telling me. So like the whole thing, they just, I don't mean to be crass, and I should watch my language because I have to represent certain things, but to be perfectly factual, they just don't give a fuck about you. They just do not give a flying fuck. And I don't care how that sounds, actually, because that is a matter of fact statement. It's not a negative statement. It's not a angry statement. It's purely just matter of fact. They just don't give a fuck about you beyond what you give them value for. And all the words and all the shiny colors and all the signs and everything is all just to get you in the door, to get money out of you. That's what the whole thing is built up on. The whole entire structure of reality, the whole entire system. And yes, there's good people amongst that who are trying to do good things and make nice businesses that help people. But by and large, it's everything's just smoke and mirrors. Everything's just marketing and lies. It's just getting so obvious. And yeah, I mean, people's complacency on it is to me, it's a bit disconcerting. But I suppose it kind of takes something to happen for people to really spark up and wake up. So even I had a meeting yesterday with some guys in close. They have a strong connection with a crypto card, and they're using pretty good technology. I mean, there's always issues with these types of things. I don't want to name names or anything like this, but I asked one of the guys, because we had a meeting with them, have you ever had any experiences, what's led you down this road? And he's like, oh my gosh, where do I start? So he had some businesses overseas and in Australia, and the way that the tax was, the ATO was coming after him, but also the banks. So when he would try to transfer money from his Australian businesses to his overseas businesses, that they'd flag it and they'd cancel his accounts, and they'd make him do all this ridiculous setup process of 6 or 8 hours. And he's like, well, I don't want to be in this bank anymore. I'm just going to leave. And they're like, well, all right, well, you can't really do that, because if you do that, we're just going to freeze all your funds and you're just not going to get them back. And, that kind of stress that it would put on you, you have to fly back to the country to sort it out, fill out all this bullshit and all these forms. It's like, it's absurd. It's so absurd. Like these days, if I'm traveling from one side of Australia to the other, I'll get on a plane. I'm not getting on a horse. I'm using the latest technology. Why would I get on a horse when it's extremely much more faster on a plane and more efficient and enjoyable and so on and so forth? And that's kind of what that old system is. It's like so old and outdated, and like the paperwork and all this nonsense. And sometimes I wonder if it's like it's just like a tangled mess. It's like I used to be like, oh, they're just evil and they're demons, but now I'm really like, I think it's just one stupid thing after another based on the incentive structures, and then eventually you've got this huge gigantic mess, this colossus of just garbage that you just don't need, and the ones that suffer are the people. And like you said, Osprey, like people are killing themselves over these sorts of things. Like it's, like homelessness should not be a thing. And that's a symptom of a sick society. So the banks will tell you that they care about you, but meanwhile they're making record profits and, they screw people over. But it's like just a business decision. The fine is like a business decision. It would be like measured against their ROI and like, oh, well, if we do this and we make this many billions of dollars and then the government's going to fine us $1.3 million. It's like, well, who gives a shit? Let's just do it. Like, what do we care? And that's just what they continue to do. And it's like, the people are having enough, but I am slightly disheartened by the general lack of motivation of people to want to change it. They're just, we spoke about this in the VCs a while ago. There's the cause and the effect, and yeah, people are just happy to be the effect and wait for somebody else to do everything for them, or just think that there is no solution. So it is a shame, but it is good to see like the movements and things happening, but they're going to defeat themselves by their own actions. That's what I was saying the other day in one of the VCs. They're going to fumble the bags with the Clarity Act. Like their own minds is going to destroy this. Why? Because like at the core of all of these failed institutions and structures is the human mind. Yes, there's a sheriff, but it's not just centralization. It's the human mind. It's the self-centered human mind. It's at the core of every single problem, from Atlantis through every single human society all the way up until now. It always starts in some like wonderful, great way, and then it just gets eroded and corrupted over time. And we're just in that point where the corruption and the erosion of all the goodness in society is like, people have just had enough, but they're still like, boy, people need to like feel the pain in a way to spark them in the action. Like this, like I was saying with this guy with the businesses, like that's what's got him into DeFi. Like he had that wake up moment, like I don't even control my own money. These bastards, they're essentially stealing my money. Like what a joke. And it's almost like it's going to take something like that for people to really wake up and then want to seek an alternative. Whereas now, I mean, I've never had those things happen to me, but I'm just like, for me, I've just been sick of the greed-ridden filth of the planet for a long time. I grew up as a left-winger, so I have that like perspective, but I've been searching for an alternative for so long, and it just seems like DeFi, the logic, the math, the incentives, everything can be programmed in a way that's better for humanity. But to get people on board onto that is like, boy, it's tough. Boy, it's tough.